Hu Tao, I've heard whispers of something called Toil in the realm of site reliability engineering. Mind unraveling the mystery for me?
Ah, Toil, the sneaky creature of the SRE world. It's essentially the kind of work you want to keep at bay. It's distinct from other types of work we might do, and has a very particular flavor.
Flavor, you say? Intrigue piques my interest more. How does Toil differ from other work?
Well, Neuvillette, Toil is not grungy work, which sometimes holds long-term value. It's also not overhead like meetings or HR tasks, which are inevitable, but not tied directly to running a service.
I see. So Toil is closely linked to the operation of a service. What are the hallmarks of Toil then?
Toil thrives in repetition. It's manual, repetitive, and automatable. If a task could be passed to a machine, it slides into the Toil category. It's tactical, lacking strategic foresight.
Lack of strategy, interesting. Is it safe to assume Toil doesn't leave a lasting impression?
Exactly. No enduring value there. If your service looks the same after a task as it did before, chances are high you've encountered Toil.
Does Toil's impact change as an organization scales?
Ah yes, that's the sneaky part. Toil grows linearly with a service. As your operations expand, Toil can become overwhelming unless curbed.
Linear scaling, not the kind of growth one desires, I presume. How do operational tasks escape the Toil label?
If the task brings about strategic, creative solutions or enduring improvements, it's not Toil. Or if it's overhead, like goal setting, definitely not Toil. Some grunt work isn't Toil if it has lasting benefits.
And grungy work, you mentioned it can have value.
Yes, cleaning up old configurations or avoiding messy alert setups. It's laborious but ultimately beneficial, so we treat it with respect, not disdain.
Could you elaborate on why manually running a script is considered Toil?
Certainly, while scripts can automate some tasks, if a human still has to run them manually, it's considered Toil because of the human effort involved.
Ah, I understand now. Despite being quicker than a fully manual task, the human involvement defines it as Toil?
Bingo! Every cycle of human effort counts, especially as systems grow, returning us to our initial issue of scale.
You mentioned it's tactical and interrupt-driven. How does this play out in daily SRE activities?
Toil often involves responding to alerts, the kind that pull you away from strategic engineering work, keeping you reactive rather than proactive.
Is there no way to ever completely eliminate Toil from an SRE's life, then?
Alas, Toil is inevitable, but not insurmountable. Our aim is to minimize it, allowing time for inventive engineering endeavors.
Intriguing. So while some Toil may offer a sense of accomplishment, excess can hinder creativity and innovation.
Exactly, Neuvillette. A manageable amount can provide stability and quick victories, but too much can bog down progress.
In terms of scaling, how should one approach beneficial tasks to ensure they don't regress into Toil?
Approach tasks with a vision towards automation, strategy, and permanent improvement. Transform those repetitive clicks into creative enhancements.
Balance seems key. How do SREs maintain focus on engineering over Toil?
By enforcing that joyful 50% rule, ensuring at least half their time remains devoted to designing and developing cutting-edge solutions.
Can encouraging creativity shift the equilibrium from Toil towards more fulfilling work within SRE?
Absolutely, providing room for creativity not only sparks joy but fosters innovation, reducing Toil naturally over time.
Marvelous insights indeed. How does one approach scenarios where Toil feels never-ending?
Then, my friend, it's time for some good old reforging. Realigning focus toward proactive engineering projects, cutting Toil at the roots.
Realignment seems pivotal. Any telltale signs Toil has overstepped its bounds?
Oh yes, fatigue, stagnation, the endless feeling of playing catch-up, all suggest a need to recalibrate and eliminate excess Toil.
Fascinating contrast. Would you say an SRE crafts their path through this jungle of Toil towards innovation?
Precisely. Wielding their creative machetes, SREs carve new trails, striving always towards fewer repetitive tasks and more lasting change.
I appreciate your insightful guidance on this intricate subject. What further steps might one consider in transitioning from Toil to innovation?
Stay tuned, my friend. There's so much more to explore as we dive further into the realm of site reliability engineering.
Hu Tao, you've painted quite the picture of toil, but why is reducing it so pivotal for site reliability engineers?
Neuvillette, imagine toil as a relentless wave. If unchecked, it swells, potentially swallowing up all of an SRE's time, leaving little room for innovation.
A formidable wave indeed. How do SREs manage to stem its tide?
By setting their gaze on a lofty target, spending at least 50% of their working hours on engineering projects. These aren't jetty projects, but ones aimed at reducing future toil while improving the service.
So it's a deliberate balancing act between operational chores and innovative undertakings.
Precisely. It's about tipping the scales in favor of those projects that can reduce toil or add new features, enhancing reliability and performance as happy side effects.
If toil isn't managed, it seems to have a way of expanding. Why does it grow so voraciously?
Toil thrives in environments that aren't vigilantly monitored. It can quickly consume 100% of everyone's time if left unchecked, especially as the demand on services grows.
Does toil sneakingly weave itself into every corner of a service?
If we're not careful, yes, reducing toil is crucial for scaling services efficiently. It's part of what distinguishes SREs from traditional ops roles.
And how does one ensure they keep the engineering in site reliability engineering then?
By focusing on activities that make services scale smoothly, like our trusted 50% rule, ensuring time is split favorably towards innovative projects.
The 50% rule, a guidepost in turbulent tides of toil. And what allure do these engineering projects hold over toil-filled tasks?
Engineering projects are exhilarating. They allow SREs to create lasting improvements rather than repeatedly dousing short-lived fires.
In the orchestration of reducing toil, what roles do creativity and foresight play?
They are the maestros. Creative solutions prevent toil from spiraling out of control and forge pathways toward more efficient systems.
Then one could say that engineering work is the art form that dismantles the pragmatic chains of toil.
Indeed, poetic when you put it that way. Engineering takes on the grand challenge of shrinking toil to nurture service scalability and innovation.
How admirable, and what risk do SREs face if they fail to cut these chains of toil?
Unchecked toil stunts progress, binding engineers in monotonous cycles instead of allowing them to elevate their services' performance.
So vigilance and strategic allocation of time are guardians against toil's encroachment.
Absolutely. By guarding our time, we ensure our efforts lift the standards of service versus drudgery that holds us down.
And should the toil balance tilt unfavorably, what course of action do SREs have?
Time to reforge those strategies, reinforce the focus on meaningful projects that steer clear of toil's grit plot.
How do SREs align themselves in this quest to remodel habitual toil into innovation?
By rallying around shared goals and constant reassessment of their work, aiming to convert those tedious cycles into leap strategic advancement.
And these engineering projects, what specific benefits do they bring beyond reducing toil?
Besides pruning toil, they propel services to new heights, enhancing reliability, performance, and even opening doors for inventive features.
An alliance of engineering projects with strategic foresight seems to unlock potential within the SRE role. What makes them truly effective then?
Their effectiveness lies in their potential to transform, providing lasting changes that render services more capable and resilient.
Is there a standout triumph of such transformative efforts you might share?
Definitely. When an SRE team conquers a notorious toil-infested alert system, replacing it with automation and self-healing processes, suddenly, life feels like one big celebration.
Quite the victory. And despite the challenges, it seems SREs always keep an eye toward further reducing toil. What fuels this enduring commitment?
Their courageous drive stems from a belief that by cutting through toil, they clear the way for achieving grander, bolder advancements in engineering.
Your insights shine a light on the toil-shadowed paths that SREs tread upon, Hu Tao. What final bit of wisdom might they need to carry forward?
Remember that toil is resistant but conquerable. Continue wielding your engineering brilliance and transforming toil into innovation and progress. And perhaps a knack for finding humor in the situation never hurts, like spotting a misconfigured alert and exclaiming, "Oops, there's another toil-borne feature."
Hu Tao, you've described toil in vivid detail. How do SREs actually measure and manage their time spent on toil?
Well, Neuvillette, it all starts with understanding the time sinks, evaluating on-call shifts, the main culprits of toil, alongside those pesky interrupts and release processes.
I see. And how does one quantify this toil to maintain the delicate balance with engineering work?
SREs often use a simple yet effective approach, tracking work time percentages. The goal? Keep the toil below 50% of their time while savoring at least 50% for inventive engineering projects.
Does every member of the team adhere to this rule, Hu Tao?
We aim for it, Neuvillette. Though not all teams are perfectly balanced, awareness helps spread toil evenly and encourages everyone to engage more in meaningful projects.
Fascinating. And these on-call shifts, what makes them such a significant source of toil?
On-call shifts demand constant vigilance, ready to respond to urgent alerts, consuming time and mental energy that could otherwise fuel more innovative pursuits.
And these interrupts, how exactly do they contribute to toil?
Those unexpected notifications, emails, and messages. Each ding and buzz is a potential interruption, diverting an SRE's focus from strategy-driven work.
Rather like a tempest of distractions, then. What about the release and push processes?
Releases and pushes, even when automated, have room for improvement, ensuring smooth transitions without needing manual oversight.
Perpetual dance, isn't it? Balancing these tasks seems no easy feat. What strategies do SREs employ to manage toil effectively?
They strategically allocate resources, fostering cross-team collaboration to distribute toil evenly while seizing opportunities for efficiency enhancements.
Teamwork, like a well-rehearsed symphony ensuring each player contributes to the harmony. How do SREs maintain focus on engineering in such a dynamic environment?
By cultivating a culture that prioritizes those engineering projects, essentially making space for creativity to flourish alongside everyday duties.
Nurturing creativity, a commendable approach. What measures ensure that toil doesn't overshadow engineering work over time?
Regular check-ins and transparent reporting keep teams aware of their toil balance, addressing imbalances swiftly before they hinder progress.
Are there any signs that indicate when toil is becoming overwhelming within a team?
When SREs find themselves firefighting fatigued from constant interruptions, those are red flags indicating it's time to reassess and realign priorities.
Indeed, vigilance must be constant. Can you describe how teams rebalance their load when toil creeps up?
Reprioritize. Empower SREs to voice concerns, redistribute tasks, and focus on those engineering projects that will drive down future toil.
So fostering an open dialogue is key to enhancing the path toward less toil.
Absolutely. A communicative atmosphere encourages innovation, helping teams transform toil into opportunities for improvement.
What role do managers play in this delicate balancing act to ensure time isn't consumed by excessive toil?
Managers guide teams in distributing work evenly, providing support for overworked members and steering focus towards strategic projects.
Providing vigilant oversight, impressive. And how do SREs identify when certain aspects, like release processes, need further automation?
Continuous evaluation. Teams analyze processes regularly, identifying bottlenecks and automating where feasible, thus shaving toil where they can.
An ongoing pursuit of efficiency. It seems robust, yet adaptable. How does this contribute to a more fulfilling work environment?
A well-managed toil level fosters a productive atmosphere where SREs feel invigorated, not drained, freeing them to explore and innovate.
And what would you say is the ultimate benefit of achieving this balance between toil and engineering work?
Achieving that sweet spot ensures services scale more smoothly, creativity thrives, and teams are better poised to fulfill their potential.
A harmonious synergy, balancing toil and innovation. Are there any particular challenges that frequently arise in maintaining this equilibrium?
One challenge is avoiding complacency. Dynamics change constantly, so teams must adapt quickly to stay ahead of toil's march.
Maintaining vigilance, ever so crucial. How do you keep the team motivated and aligned with their engineering goals amidst toil?
By celebrating incremental wins and sharing the vision, Each step towards reducing toil represents progress toward greater achievements.
And what advice would you impart to aspiring SREs embarking on their journey into the world of toil and engineering?
Embrace the challenges, be adaptable, and never forget the power of collaboration. Together, we forge ahead, one imaginative leap at a time.
With such strategic foresight, I trust the journey will indeed be one of transformative progress. Hu Tao, you've beautifully detailed the mechanics of toil, but what of its impact, especially when it becomes excessive?
Oh, Neuvillette, that's where things get a bit dreary. Too much toil can drag down morale, making even the liveliest folks feel like they're carrying a ton of Tevat's treasures.
Morale, such a subtle yet mighty force. How does excessive toil influence one's career trajectory?
Well, if you spend all your time trapped in toil's monotony, career growth tends to sputter out. Imagine being stuck in the same patch of Liyue's countryside, missing out on the magnificent sights beyond.
A poignant metaphor. Does toil affect team productivity in a similar fashion?
Certainly. When a team drowns in toil, progress slows to a crawl. New features and improvements are delayed, and the dynamic, innovative spirit of a team gets buried.
So in manageable doses, toil has its place. How does one balance this?
The secret lies in moderation. A sprinkle here and there isn't harmful. It brings quick wins and tasks one can check off easily, which can feel pleasantly rewarding.
Interestingly, a necessary evil then, but never should it rule the day. How critical is reducing toil for an organization's health?
It's all about fostering a healthy, creative environment. By cutting down on toil, we allow room for innovation and fresh ideas, which keep the organization's heart thriving and its head held high.
An inspired approach. Engineering innovation seems a distant cousin to reduce toil. How do they relate?
They're tied together like lanterns on a string. Less toil means more time for inventive endeavors, and that's where real breakthroughs blossom, propelling services to the next level.
What warnings exist for when toil starts to tip the scales unfavorably?
Oh, signs are plenty. Burnout looms, enthusiasm wanes, and tasks begin feeling like they're trudging through endless mud rather than skipping stones over a serene river.
And what of teams that find themselves overwhelmed by this toil? How do they recover?
Time for a pivot. Reevaluate, redistribute, and most importantly, reclaim focus on those projects that carve a path out of repetitiveness and into innovation.
A strategy constant like the tides. Are there teams that thrive despite the tide of toil?
Absolutely, Neuvillette. Those that emphasize reducing toil, celebrate each little leap of progress, and foster a culture where ideas sparkle and shine despite challenges.
Is there ever a risk of sway, turning oil of innovation into the water of toil?
When innovation gets so mired in minutiae, it no longer feels transformative. Yes, therein lies the caution. Keep spirit and strategy high to avoid such risks.
Wise words, Hu Tao. For a newcomer entering the realm of SRE, what advice would you give?
Find joy in the journey, stay curious, question the status quo, and remember, each step that reduces toil fosters a richer, more rewarding horizon.
In your experience, do you find that a touch of humor keeps one afloat amid toil's depths?
Oh, absolutely. Humor is the secret spice. Laughing at a bewildering alert or a funny blip in the system eases burden and keeps creativity alive.
In the grand dance between toil and engineering, where do you see the future leading for SREs?
The future, bright and full of promise. As long as SREs keep their vision clear and vigilant, they'll move mountains, touching the sky with innovation, while keeping toil firmly at their feet.
Your vision is enchanting, Hu Tao. Could we say the pursuit of reduced toil is like crafting a masterpiece, piece by piece?
Indeed, Neuvillette. And each stroke of effort, when directed wisely toward engineering and creativity, paints a future that's as bright as the festival lights of Liyue.
Thank you for sharing this illuminating perspective, Hu Tao. Your words breathe life into the often daunting task of balancing toil with innovation.
Glad to help, Neuvillette. Just remember, in the grand theater of SRE, toil is but a minor role, with innovation ready to take center stage.